go to caucus on Monday night, you are going to caucus for both a president and a commander-in-chief. And the entire world will be watching.
And if we can win here, we're going to run the table. I'll tell you.
All right, show of hands from those who actually know everything important and relevant there is to know about what exactly a caucus is, why it's so important when there are gaggles more in votes to be cast in deciding who will represent Republicans and Democrats in November, and how badly overblown a lot of the predictions about turnout may already be, and then how a lot of political pundits could have corn mash on their faces when all is said and done next week. Hands up, not many hands. This book should be a primer for all to read well before we get to this stage of the political passion play. Grassroots Rules: How the Iowa Caucuses Help Elect American Presidents. Authored by the former Chief of Staff to Iowa Congressman Steve King. Welcome Dr. Christopher C. Hull to the Hardline. Dr. Hull, thanks so much for joining us here. And there's that question that comes right out front. We hear so much caucus this, caucus this. It's going to help decide who's the next president. Really? Is it really that critical? Is it that important, or do we make it that important?
And there's another book that is arguably as important, if not more important than mine, is called The Making of a Media Event.
There you go.
And the entire argument is that the media created it. You know, the truth is that as technology becomes more important, Iowa becomes more important too. And the reason is that the impact can be turned into dollars and can be turned into supporters so much faster than it could before, that Iowa's impact has been increasing, actually, since 1976, when it really hit the world stage with Jimmy Carter.
Then, Dr. Hull, in about 30 seconds, because we only have a short amount of time, and boy, I know this is going to be difficult, but in about 30 seconds to the neophyte out there, explain to them how this works and how it is still relevant.
Sure. A caucus is a party meeting, and the difference between a caucus and a primary is that in a primary you vote like you do in the general election, and in a caucus you go and you have a party meeting, and at the end of it you have a straw poll vote, and it requires much more time, much more energy, much more effort to go to a caucus, and therefore you end up with more committed activists.
What you then describe and what we hear about it, it seems almost it's a quaint tradition in some ways that may simply not work in the 21st century electoral process.
I think it works great, because the key to the caucus is that you have to build up rather than tearing down. It's very difficult to destroy the support of another candidate in a caucus. And it's also very difficult to simply run television ads and end up with people who are committed enough to you to show up. And so what the caucus does is it weeds out people with lots of money but no ability to inspire and to lead.
So is it fair to say that in a caucus you've got to work a little bit harder? It's not all about showing up, because there's so many things that have to happen here and so many procedures, if you will, that this is difficult. It makes people work a little harder.
It does. It makes them work harder, and it makes them use different muscles than they have to use in a primary. And, you know, the question is, we're trying to choose a president here, right? So we want to choose a president who's good at what? We want to choose a president who's good at raising money or being a billionaire and spending it on television ads, or do we want to get a president who's good at motivating people towards a common goal?
Is it fair to say, though, that there's a lot of things that go on here? Because as I read a lot of the stories about caucuses and know over the years, they talk about gifts of alcohol, gifts of food, people walking up and down the aisle saying, here's a little of this, here's a little of that. It's almost folksy in its charm, but almost a little bit folksy in the way they do business.
Well, you know, the expression is Iowa nice. People in Iowa tend to be nice, and there is hospitality that goes on. I have never seen, you know, anything that was untoward. In fact,
no, not untoward, but it's almost making friends, is what it is. It's that kind of an idea.
Yes, Ed, that's exactly what I would say. Is that this is very much more about a community of people who believe similar things, and it tends to be something which is cordial. It's cordial, and in American politics today, I think we need plenty of cordial.
I got about 30 seconds left, and as we look at a lot of the numbers here between the Democrats and the Republicans, who's leading right now in a lot of these caucus polls, before we even get there, is it not fair to say that it's very rare for somebody to win Iowa and then win New Hampshire? They're so very different, and you're not guaranteed the nomination even if you win Iowa. Good possibility, but it's no guarantee.
Oh, absolutely not. No, that's right. New Hampshire tends to weed out those who are more conservative and those who are more of an ag interest candidate. And if you win both, it tends to mean that you're going to be the nominee and often that you're going to be the president.
Would you like to make a choice then, Republican and Democrat, who you think will win, or you're going to kind of stay on the sideline for that one?
Well, I think that the top four are pretty obvious: Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side, and my bet would be on Sanders right now because I think he's got the momentum and he motivates people more, and Trump and Cruz on the Republican side, and my money would be on Ted Cruz.
And I got to stop there and remind everybody the book again is Grassroots Rules: How the Iowa Caucuses Help Elect American Presidents. Dr. Hull, we're going to talk to you a lot more as we head down the line here. The Hard Line continues.